Now is the time. A time you'll look back on. A time you adopt as inspiration. You will recollect this time. This moment, right now. Motivate yourself towards success. Overcome. Take over. The time is now.
Yep, sorry about that. Hello, everybody. A late one for us tonight. 9 p.m. We never do a 9 p.m. show, but there's a reason for that tonight. When that will all be revealed in a second. Pete, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Can't complain. Got my away days top, but we're not representing Brazil tonight. We're representing Australia with the Australian colours in here for a reason. So I thought, why not don the away day shirt for a very special occasion? Nice one.
Good thinking, Pete. I like that. Wish I thought of that. Right, let's get rock and roll. So this is the third episode in the United series. So yes, here's my picture for tonight. Our guests are Toon Under Podcast. So shall we get them out?
Why not?
Okay, we have to say it. Keegan. Oh, sorry, wrong Keegan. Sorry, let's go again. Keegan. There he is.
Yeah,
welcome, Keegan.
Thanks for having me, boys. How are you?
All good.
Very good, my man.
Good. How's all that? It's very early where you are. It's just 6 a.m.
Yeah, we just rolled over 6 a.m. So yeah,
whoa,
flying. Who needs sleep?
Look, first and foremost, Keegan, I'm sure Daz will agree. Massive appreciation for you taking the time to join us at that crazy hour in the morning. We really appreciate it and spending the time talking all things Newcastle.
No, just stoked you guys are having me on, and pretty pumped for tonight, this morning, whatever you want to call it.
It doesn't matter. I think people will be watching this at all times during the days and weeks and months ahead, probably.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. So first of all, let's talk about the Toon Under podcast. I guess how did it start off? I guess how many you're in the crew and where you're all based.
So we started off just after the takeover last year. So it was basically a group of us who sort of just interacted on Twitter and stuff like that. And then it sort of come from there. So we thought, why don't start a podcast? Well, I shouldn't, hang on. They thought I was the summer signing. So the other guys started in November, and then I sort of jumped on. My first one was the Liverpool. We did a Liverpool review last year, which was fun, but boring as batshit because the game was shit. So there wasn't much to talk about. And then, so there's 7 of us. 3 of us live in Victoria where I am. I'm in Geelong, which is about an hour south of Melbourne, I guess. We've got another guy who lives in Ballarat, which is an hour west, and another guy who lives in sort of Melbourne area, a bit closer to the city. And then we've got another 3 in Brisbane, which is a 2-hour plane ride north from Melbourne.
I think we need a map.
And another one.
Hang on, Keegan, we need a map. Here, let's go for this.
Yeah.
So point it out there.
All right. So if you see right sort of near the bottom.
I've got a better map. Here we go.
I like the other one better. All right. So down the bottom in Victoria, the Great Ocean Road is sort of where I roughly am. That's about a 20-minute drive from my place. unfortunately for Bobby, Ballarat doesn't quite make it because it's not a big city. It's just a little town in Melbourne. And then you can see up the Gold Coast in Queensland, sort of the bottom of Queensland, the Gold Coast. So Brisbane is about an hour north of there. We've got 3 guys there, and then 1 guy right up the top. I'm not sure where Cairns is, but I reckon it's in between Magnetic Island and Cape Tribulation in Queensland. So, yeah, it doesn't look much, but trust me, it'll take. Well, you can drive for 6 hours in just Victoria and still be in Victoria. So,
Wow, yeah,
that gives you a kind of idea of how big
the scale,
our country is.
Sure. Exactly.
You could fly 6 hours and still be in Australia as well, which is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's mad. That is mad. Jesus.
Cool. And I guess because when you mentioned Geelong, I actually watched one of your podcasts earlier, and I copped that you're from Geelong. So I've been to Australia. So my brother lives in Perth. So I've only ever been to one Aussie rules match, and it was against Geelong.
The Mighty Cats, nice.
Yeah, and so my team, I have to say it's my team because I've only ever been to one match, is Freo. Fremantle, Freo,
nice.
Freo. So I even went as far as digging out the result for that game, Keegan, and yeah, Freo won that one. So
no, that's not the right game. That must have been a different. You've edited this.
No, this is back in 2012. It's a long time ago.
Oh,
so
no.
yeah. So but yeah.
Oh, round 1. Yeah, we won the grand final the year before that. So that was the first game. So I'll just say we had a grand final hangover for that game. But yeah, we're actually in the grand final this week. So pretty pumped.
Okay,
I got a ticket. Yeah, so we play the Sydney Swans in the grand final on Saturday. So I got a ticket for that. So I'm pretty pumped.
Nice one. Cool. So yeah, you guys started just pretty much after the takeover, and so your own background then, Keegan. So like, have you? Because Australia's so far away. Ireland's far enough, but Australia. Have you ever got over to Newcastle, to James's Park for a game or anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been over there 4 times. So all my dad's side of the family live in Ashington. So they used to. Some of them still do. A few of them moved out to Cramlington and Blythe and things like that. But a few of them are still there. So we're pretty lucky that we could have accommodation, I guess. So all we sort of had to save was airfares and spending money. So yeah, that's how we got to go over there. So I think I think it was my first time was in 1996, but it was really, really hard to get it. That was when there was like a waiting list for seasons tickets and stuff like that. So Dad was lucky enough to get like a corporate package off someone. So he went, but he didn't bring us. Being a dad now, I wouldn't take my kids there either if I was in a corporate package. And then went back in 2005, and unfortunately, the only home game when we were there was the Sunderland derby. So that was the 3-2 game when Emre scored the winner. There was about 4 goals in 8 minutes, I reckon. And then Emre scored the winner. So that was pretty cool actually. And I've got a funny story about that game I might share later on. But and then went over back in 2008, but it was the middle of summer, so yeah, obviously no games on. And then 2009 we went back again and went to 2 games, but unfortunately they were championship games. But it doesn't matter, they were still there, and it was still a full house, and we still got the full experience. I think we had Peterborough and Doncaster, which not great opponents, but they were 2 wins, so I can't complain.
Yeah, exactly. For a trip like that, you want to be making sure the win really.
Yeah. And it was weird because like when you come to like an Aussie rules game, the closer you are, the more expensive your ticket is.
Yeah.
But over there, it's the opposite. Like the closer you are, the cheaper it is because no one wants to sit in the rain or the snow or anything like that. So we were like, we don't care. It's only water. So we bought our jackets, and we were sat in the leasers and we were right on the edge of the stand. So I reckon the first game we got some drips from the front of the roof. Yeah. And then the next game we sat 2 rows behind that. So we will try the second game.
Nice one.
No, I was going to say it's always the risk of the leasers.
Yeah.
I had a season ticket in there. So if you're looking at the goal, you're looking at the leaser on the left-hand side, just about 8 rows up from the bottom. And it was always very much a hit and miss, depending on the weather, going there game to game, because you knew what it was like. You either get drenched or you just survive it.
Yeah.
Cool. So, who would your all-time favorite player be, and who would your current favorite player be in the squad today?
I think Shearer was my favorite player, but my first favorite player was Tino. He was my first heartbreak as well, because I brought the shield brown ale top when he signed with the shield on the back. It got his name and number, and then 12 months later he left. And I tried peeling the number and name off, and I'm like, if only you had the whole, like, that'd be one of the best shirts ever now. Like if you still had it, and I cracked it and I threw it out because I couldn't get the numbers off it. So yeah, and I was fuming, like absolutely fuming that he'd left. And then Shearer had signed 2 years, 12 months later. So then I just jumped on. He's never going to leave. So every shirt. I'll tell a lie. My next 2 shirts after that, I got my own name, because I was still spooked that someone was going to leave, and I thought, well, I'm not going to leave, so I'll get my own name on there for a couple. And then Shearer signed. I'm like, he's not going. I don't think he'll go anywhere now. So it was Shearer after that, because it was the safe. It was the safe bet that he wasn't going to go anywhere. So I just stuck with him. And then now I love Bruno. Like, I love everything he does. I love his Instagram posts. I love his little shit stirring on the videos with Big Joe in the training room and stuff like that. Like, he just seems like the biggest legend of a bloke. So I jumped on him. And then his ability is good, but I didn't know at the start. I'm like, is this guy really, really good, or have we been shit for so long that he's just better than what we have? And it was a real juggling act. I didn't know what he was, and then I'm like, no, he's good. No, he's real good. So I'm on him now. Nice one.
Please, Keegan, whatever you do not get your name. Do not get his name. Sure, please.
Already has.
The reason why I say
he already has.
Yeah. I might get a Jacob Murphy top then. Try.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what? Leave there.
Get two just to make sure.
I think everyone.
I'll get a home kit. I'll get the away kit, and I'll get the Saudi kit with Murphy on the back.
The reason why I say that is because my brother, growing up, was the worst person for this, and Shearer was a non-negotiable. We weren't allowed to have him on the back of the shirt. So my brother went through the years. First one he had was Andy Cole, then he left. Then it was Rule Fox. Then it was David Ginola. And then he went for a period where having no name on the back. And then he went back and said, right, I'm going to have a name on the back. And then he got Craig Bellamy. And then Craig Bellamy left. And at that point, that was it. No more Newcastle shirts. That's it. Done. Because literally every top that he got with a player on the back ended up going. And it was just absolute madness. So, like, you're not the only one that has. Yeah. This was Lee. So you're not the only one that had like those type of superstitions, because for some reason they do kind of fall that way. It's just it's mad.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, just when you mentioned brothers there now as well, I'm just because I mentioned earlier, my brother lives in Perth, so it is very difficult living in Australia trying to follow the Premier League because the time zones and stuff like that. So you're either getting up really early to watch them or staying up late to watch them. It's just bonkers really. But yeah, dedication to follow. I know you're probably playing catch up, but then you're probably trying to make sure you don't hear the results so you can watch it back or whatever as well. It's just
we all get up. We get up at 1 o'clock in the morning to watch it. So then, or sometimes at the moment it's different with the time. So I think, maybe in a month, daylight saving starts for us. So all our clocks go forward. So now once a week we'll get it like a 9:30 Saturday night kickoff, which is obviously the lunchtime one for you guys. But then most of our 3 o'clock kickoffs are like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh no, I think they're midnight. But then one daylight savings goes, they'll be 2 o'clock in the morning. But then sometimes if we get the late game, we're on at 7, which is pretty good, like 7 a.m. So that's not too bad. But by the time you recover from getting up in the middle of the night, it's normally time to do it again. So you just get used to it after probably 3 or 4 months.
Okay, just we'll mention later on the shows, but I also want to just give a shout out to Toon Under Podcast, because I know you guys are edging closer to 1K subscribers, and that was a monumental move for us. So we were just trying so hard to get there. So make sure anyone that's watching this or watching this back again later that you subscribe to the lads to get them to 1K, help them reach the target.
Absolutely.
So yeah, let's move on. I want to talk now a bit about a name that was mentioned there last week, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong again, but Garang Kuol. So here he is. We saw this picture last week, but he plays for the Central Coast Mariners, and as we describe him as a bit of a wonder kid. He also played for the Aussie All-Stars in that game against Barcelona, as we saw. He's a brother that plays for Stuttgart. He is also here's the picture I talked about. Actually, it is here. Yeah, I know your show. This is coming as a screenshot from your own show that you did a nice little section on a watch today, and a lot of good information in that show. So check that out if you want a bit more information on Garang Kuol. But the big thing is actually it's tomorrow for us, but today for you. He plays. If he plays tomorrow for us, today for you against New Zealand, the All Whites, then he's getting his visa would be easier. So I thought that's one to keep an eye on. Maybe when we wake up in the morning, is he in the start? Does he come on off the bench? So it just might be easier for us to get a visa for him. And I know there was some stories as well in that show that we didn't cover, and I didn't know anything about it. I don't know if we want to get into this here because it is yeah, maybe we'll get into that. But it's interesting family as well. But let's maybe not talk about that. Let's get him on board and with us first, and we'll get probably would go out on loan. But do you know anything about him, Keegan? Do you know much about him from playing in over there?
A little bit, but not much, because he's only played. I don't even think he's played like 10 senior games yet. So it's hard to. And then our broadcast deal for the A-League, which is our national league, it's on Paramount Plus, which it used to be on like our version of Sky, and then they had the Premier League as well, and then they lost it to Optus Sport, which is another different a subscription-based service, and then they lost the A-League rights as well, and they went to a different one. So it's sort of been hard to follow as much as it has been in the past, because obviously people don't want to pay that many subscriptions, and you only really get Paramount for that. So only the diehards sort of like subscribe, but he looks a real talent, but he's really young. Like he just turned 18. But the Socceroos play, I think Thursday night, so it's Wednesday morning here at the moment. So I think they play against Chris Wood's New Zealand on Thursday night. So like you said, if he gets some game time, he gets. I think his visa is a lot easier to get. So, but he's a sort of a striker, not overly tall, very quick and very, very natural. He's a really good finisher as well. And like you said, he played in that game against Barcelona. So they picked an A-League All-Stars. I think might have been fan voted. I'm not sure. I wasn't really across it because I don't pay much attention to the friendlies and stuff. But he didn't actually get picked via how everyone else got picked. He was like a commissioner pick. So, he got in like that, and he come on for a cameo at the end, and he was lighting it up, like making crazy runs, and nearly scored. I think he nearly went on a run from like just inside his own half, and I think he ran out of petrol tickets by the end of it and scuffed his shot. But he was yeah, I wouldn't have got that close before I've done my petrol tickets. So he was, he really impressed. So, I mean, that's what they're trying to do now, aren't they? They're trying to get young talent from all around the world and sort of get them before everyone else gets them. So I believe what's been reported, I don't know what you guys have heard, but down here it's been reported that he had a $600,000 buyout fee on his contract. So, which it isn't much, but it is when you haven't really played a game of professional sort of footy yet. So, maybe they were hedging, but I bet you they probably would have regretted only making it 600 now if they knew, like clubs like us were going to come sniffing around. Yeah,
it's an interesting one, Keegan, because like in the grand scheme of things, I suppose it's not a lot of money, but like you've just said, because he hasn't played a lot of football, it would seem like a lot of money. But nowadays in football, you're looking at, I mean, there's the Brazilian lad, Endrick, who scored a wonder goal, and it's been all over social media off the back of it. I think he's got like a release clause of like 50-60 million now, and he just signed a new contract, and it's just like,
so did Haaland.
Exactly. Haaland was exactly the same with similar clauses, and it's like, actually, when you weigh it up, there are so many teams now, so many of the top teams in Europe and in the world that are taking chances on these young players because of their potential. They're actually paying $600,000, or Australian dollars, I assume, is that actually that's not a lot, and it's worth the punt, because I've watched just the clips. I don't really know too much about it myself, but I think I said when Daz asked me on one of the shows, I think it might have been Squad Game, and the one thing I noticed,
that was a funny show too. I like that one.
Yeah,
did you like it?
Yeah.
Great show.
I was listening to it in the car driving, going, no, he's definitely championship. Don't even say he's bottom of the Premier League. Don't, and the bottom, like, no, he's not.
That's mad. You're driving along in Australia listening to us talking shite about
This is what we do. But like, he actually, Garang actually reminds me of Ousmane Dembele a little bit at Barcelona, in the way in which he just plays and he glides. And look, if we can get a player that plays, even 50-60% of the ability that Ousmane Dembele has, then he's well worth the money in my eyes. We just need to get that work permit sorted.
Yeah. But exactly. He's like 600,000 for the club he come from, Central Coast. They're not a traditional sort of big club here. They're your battlers, I saw, but they've got an amazing knack of producing really, really good players. So I'm trying to think of guys that Matty Ryan, that used to be the keeper at Brighton. So he come from Central Coast. Mila Jedinak, who was captain of Crystal Palace. He come from Central Coast. Tom Rogic, who had been at Celtic the last 10 years. He come from Central Coast as well. So, for a small club, they punch well above their weight when it comes to producing players and selling them on for a decent fee.
Nice. That's good pedigree then. Good.
Yeah, fair play to him.
So hopefully that one comes through, and as I think has been said, he'd go out on loan then, and even we might even see him if he comes on and in the game, and he could potentially even make the World Cup squad. So I just grabbed a little picture of the groups for the World Cup as well, because seen the young lad come on against MacArthur Bulls.
MacArthur.
Yeah, Aussie Geordie just put that in. Welcome, Aussie Geordie. I think he's saying similar to yourself, Keegan, is that he, from the bits that he's seen, he does look like an exciting prospect for his age, and like you just said, he's not even played 10 games.
It's crazy, but he's the type of, look, we all sort of know when it comes to us, we've got nothing coming off the bench. Like if we need to get something out of a game. Like there's not much at the moment that to really sort of go, oh, if he comes on, things could turn our way. I could definitely see him in 2 or 3 years' time. If he's not at the level of some of the other players we'll obviously bring in the next couple of years, but he's a bit similar to Elliot Anderson, I think. I think when he comes on for them little cameos at the end, he's got the ability just to create something that, like, not there. He's just got this natural, like natural flair, I guess, that he can just make something happen. And, I don't think we haven't got anyone like that. We're very vanilla when we go to our bench at the moment.
Exactly. Yeah, that's where we're lacking, and we need to do something about that in the coming transfer windows. But it's going to take time as part of the project. But what you mentioned about Elliot Anderson, that's what the guy said on the show I watched today.
Dimmy,
They weren't comparing him like for like, but it's just kind of like Elliot Anderson was kind of more could play a winger, central kind of midfield, kind of number 10, but he was more pushed up forward really. But,
he's just sort of out and out. Yeah, but I think it's more Elliot Anderson in terms of sort of the way he plays, his age, he doesn't sort of get overawed by the situation he's in as well. Like, I mean, if you're a 17-year-old kid playing in front of 80,000 people against Barcelona, it'd be pretty easy to go back in your shell and get the ball, just play a first easy pass and sort of get out of the way. But he was like, nah, I'm just going to have a crack at these blokes and see what happens, which is, sometimes it's the Aussie way. We'll just have a crack and see what happens. So, he's definitely one to watch. Hopefully there's been a little bit of shit go down between agents and stuff like that. So, there's not much information about it at the moment, but what we can sort of gather is he had an agent here, and I think he's shipped him off and gone with an international agent to help facilitate this move. And then his current agent sort of cracked the shits a bit, and I think that's where it's at the moment. But the stuff with his brothers and stuff, I don't think it's got anything to do with the transfer. It's just a bad thing that happened for the family more than anything.
I've got a couple of questions for both of you, actually, just before we move on. And to be fair, there's a few questions coming to the chat. So we have got a couple of or a few questions starred for Keegan. Those in the chat, if you haven't already, get a question in for Keegan and we'll fire them at him later on in the show. But just about Garang, is it Kuol?
Kuol. We call him the koala bear.
Yeah,
we don't. I just made that up.
I remember that now. Now you said it, Keegan.
There he is.
Just down the bottom there he is next to the kangaroo. Oh no, that's a wombat. What am I talking about?
Up top. There's a couple of questions. First of all, do you think he will go to the World Cup? And I'll throw this second question out whilst we're here. So first of all, do you think he'll go to the World Cup personally? This is for both of you. And secondly, if he goes to the World Cup and has a decent tournament, do you think that's going to scupper our chances in signing him? Because it's not a done deal yet, I don't think.
No, well, it hasn't been announced yet. Normally they do. We were actually talking about this last week on our group chat. We don't know how that works with regards to actually signing him, because it's not the transfer window, and we're like, does it matter if they're signing him as a academy player rather than a senior player?
You could sign him now, I think, but he mightn't come over until
January.
That's what come over once he gets the work permit, but won't play or whatever like that.
That's what I thought. I thought that announced that they've come to. There might be something where they've come to an agreement with Central Coast for the transfer of him, and he'll join on January the 1st or whenever the transfer window. That's how I thought it would probably work, but we tried looking on Google for anything, and it's very, very vague. The information, like what it is, but I don't. This is because this is his first sort of senior call up and first time in camp, so it's really hard because our current manager sort of likes to pick guys. He's a bit like Gareth Southgate, I guess. He sort of picks his bankers, so their club form doesn't really matter. He'll just pick the ones he knows. So this is maybe more of a trial to see how he goes in camp and how he gets on with the other guys and what's he like around everyone. But given this a friendly, I could see him getting minutes tomorrow night against New Zealand, purely because there's no, like, it's hit or miss. You don't have to sort of play. You'd only get a little bit at the end just to have a look at him. So I'm not sure. Our national team's very unsettled at the moment. We've got guys coming in and out and move overseas to try and get some minutes, and then don't actually play at the club they've moved to, and then they think they're doing the right thing and they're not doing the right thing. So yeah, there's a few players like that. So, and given it's our off season here as well, so he's not actually playing at the moment, which might sort of put a cross against his name. But I think our league starts up the start of October, so we will get, if he stays at Central Coast in the time before, or if we have signed him. I'm getting ahead of myself. If we do sign him and he stays at Central Coast until January, he will get probably a month in. I haven't looked at the fixture, so he might get, I don't know, somewhere between 4 and 6 games in before he gets an opportunity, hopefully, to go to the World Cup. But I'm all for it. I mean, like, this guy could play for us for the next 4 World Cups.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So get him in. What are you going to lose? Like, even if he doesn't play, at least get him in the squad and get him around the guys, give him an experience that something he can strive for in another. What is it? Not 4 years now, isn't it? Because we've missed it. Oh no, it is. No. So give him a chance. I'd pick him in the squad for the Socceroos for the World Cup, just purely on, if he's good enough, you throw him on. If we're getting smashed by France, which is most likely going to happen, throw him on for the last 10 minutes and give him a run around and see how he goes. But yeah, like, what do you got to lose? Yeah, that's how I reckon. You've got a young kid here who shows the potential of the world. Give him a go and figure it out. That's what's the Aussie way. Give him a go and see what happens.
Yeah, I agree with you, Keegan. And I think as well that. Okay, when I read about him, his family came over from Egypt, so I was thinking then, are Australia trying to make sure he gets a competitive game so that Egypt don't come sniffing around and try and get him into their squad at a later stage? So maybe that could be a reason why it was, or that's what I thought first when I heard that he was being called up. But then I hope he does go to the World Cup, because Australia are one of the 31 teams I will be shouting for in the World Cup. I didn't say 32, I said 31. And here they are.
Don't start, guys. Don't start.
So here is Australia in the Group D there, with France, Denmark, Tunisia, and Australia. So yeah, that's a tough group. Yeah. So but why not give him a run out? Look, he has to prove himself, obviously, against the likes of New Zealand, and it'd be good actually, as you mentioned. Chris Wood can talk to him about Newcastle as well while he's over there.
Yeah, absolutely. He should be buttering up now, actually.
Yeah, exactly. But Agent Wood, any other questions, Pete?
No, they were just the two, just about Garang Kuol. I'm sure there'll be many more as we move on. But I just put just a question in the chat: who are we going for to win the World Cup? And that's the Brett straight away. Previously known as Oogie. Previously known as Oogie has gone for Australia.
Yes, Brett, good man.
Yeah, he's
this guy. Man. There's Oogie, or Brett.
There he is.
There he is. The model. Nice one. So okay. Maybe I'll go next. I'll move on because he is your favorite player, Keegan. So there was some quotes today from Bruno, and there was further quotes later on today in the Chronicle. But these are the ones from earlier in the day. So let's look at a bit of this. So this is from Bruno. It's a dream come true to play in the Premier League. Everything is amazing. Sometimes I think to myself, I was born for this, for the Premier League. I'm already feel at home here. Also says, the fans are crazy about me, and nothing beats that in football. Honestly, I get so much love out on the streets that sometimes it feels like I'm the mayor of the city. They spot me and start yelling my name, wanting to take a picture. I've met people who've got a tattoo with my face on. It's nuts. That's the love fans have. Newcastle have been through difficult times in the recent past, and now they're bouncing back. Every single home game is wonderful because the atmosphere is incredible. It's totally different from the atmosphere at any other Premier League ground. That means he's never going to any other Premier League team, at least. Nice one. Our fans remind me of Brazilian fans and South American fans. It's damn good to play in a place like this. And that was from an interview with 442. But yeah, we all love Bruno. Is there anyone around that doesn't have anything bad to say, that has something bad to say about Bruno? I don't think so.
No way. No way.
Apart from Keegan, the name on the back of the jersey, who could it could mean Bruno will leave at some stage now because of that.
I've got a really bad habit of wrecking everything. So every review I've done on our channel. So we do a preview show, a review, and every now and then if we get special guests and stuff like that. But yeah, every review I've done we haven't won. So I'm banned from our review shows. So yeah, I might be banned from getting names as well. You can add that to the things I'm banned from.
Just bad all the way through.
Yeah. I've never smiled on our review shows. We've either drawn or won. Actually, no. The Man City one, I smiled because that felt like a win. So that was different.
Yeah,
that was a win, definitely. It felt like it. But, just touching on the Bruno, obviously the quotes. There's an article just come out in the last 5 minutes from Craig Hope of the Mail. And he had an interview with Bruno Guimarães, and in addition to that, what he said is that Bruno Guimarães has said that he wants to play as a number 8. He feels that that's his best position. Do you guys agree with that? Do you agree that playing him alongside Joe Linton in that position further forward is where we need to play him? And if we do, who's the guy that sits in behind those guys when we play our next game? Obviously, because John Joe Shelvey's not fit, although he's close to being back. Who do you go with to play in that sitting role?
We had this discussion on our review show Sunday night, that I don't, as much as people or some people won't admit it.
We'll take him.
Yeah. You have to check. I don't think I've got a release clause, so that if I did, it'd be about $1.
Change agents now.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah. People need to understand how much, and as much as you might hate him, how much of a loss John Joe is to the side. Like, whether you like him or you think he's hopeless or whatever you do, you have to be able to stick your hand up and say, we really, really miss John Joe Shelvey, because Bruno is not the player Bruno was last year, but that's because he's playing in a different position and he's deeper and things like that. And I mentioned potentially for games like Bournemouth where they're going to throw a heap of numbers behind the ball, and we can maybe play Longstaff in that defensive midfield role and throw Bruno a bit further forward, because we just lack that quality to try and unlock a team that's going to sit behind the ball. And my argument was, well, there's not going to be much Longstaff has to do, because like we had 70% possession and we dominated the ball. So it's not like he's going to have a mountain of work to do anyway. And I think when teams do that, if we can somehow try and nick a goal early, that'll bring him out and it'll be easier for us to sort of play and try and get him behind. So until January, which is probably only 9 games left before we can buy someone again. I mean, it's probably why we were linked with Maddison. I think people sort of go, oh, where's he going to play? And we don't need him. But I think that was the plan. We wanted that player who was a bit more an adventurous midfielder who can find a goal and find a pass like that. And then, I don't know if you remember, we were linked with that Alvarez from Ajax in the last, and that was the opposite. Play him at defensive midfielder and then release Bruno forward as well. So I think that's definitely an area that they need to address. And I don't think there's a right or a wrong, as long as they get the right. There is a right and a wrong. They have to get the right player who can do what Bruno does going forward if they want to keep Bruno as a number 6, I guess. But I'm all for Bruno getting further up the field and getting another defensive midfielder in while John Joe's out anyway.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing, Keegan, about John Joe. Like I've had through the years, I've had a love-hate relationship with John Joe Shelby, and in the last year, I've loved him. He's been unreal. I loved him when he's in the Championship and the start when he came back in the Premier League. I was even saying he should play for England. He was playing so well at one point, or play for England again, I should say. But yeah, then there was times when he used to lose the head and stuff like. But he's a changed man since Eddie Howe came in, and yeah, I agree. We've missed him, and we haven't got as much as we were getting out of Bruno. Now Bruno's still doing a brilliant job, but yeah, up the more attacking side of the pitch, and I suppose that number 8 role that Peter's just mentioned there. So yeah, yeah, it's, and I suppose that kind of links in with, and we'll get your opinion as well, Pete. But it does link in. Maybe a follow-on question after we go to you is where do you think we need to strengthen when we come to January? So maybe that could be a follow-on question. But your thoughts, Pete, first on that Bruno on the number 8.
For me, I'll be honest. Early on, when he first signed for the club, I actually saw him as a defensive midfielder because he almost played in that position at Lyon. So that was where I was familiar in seeing him in that deeper role. But he surprised me last season of how effective he can be in that number 8, getting forward, arriving late into the box. Like I say, he scored 5 goals. I think he had 2 or 3 assists off the back of that. It was a really productive last end of the season. And he's gone back into that defensive role this season. He just doesn't seem as potent and as effective. Like, he's good with the ball. He turns over the ball great. But at this moment in time, we need players that can really make a difference, you know, with goals and assists. We don't, unfortunately, Joe Linton and Willock just don't give us that. Bruno Guimarães gave us that and more. And I think what we need now is to release him further forward because his work rate, the amount of times he won the ball high up the pitch and created attacks going the other way because of his work rate in his endeavour. We just need that more and more and more in the team. Willock's played a few games this season in that position, more than a few games, and he's had chances and he just fluffed them. So it's not like he's not had opportunities. I mean, I was right there watching it, Wolves away in the away stand at Molineux, and he had that early chance. And we're obviously at a different angle. We can't see it like the TV. And even then, it looked like an absolute sitter. When I watched it back on the TV, I felt sick. I felt sick that he missed that chance. That changes the game. We get 3 points if he puts that ball in the net. I'm convinced of it, and I still am. Yeah. Like, it's just it's not good enough. You put Bruno in that position, he puts the ball in the net. It's as simple as that. And we just need better quality of player. And Bruno gives us that going forward. So yeah, getting that ball breaker, as I mentioned before, that ball breaker of a defensive midfielder, the Tiote-like player that just breaks things up and gives it to the guys that know what to do. And you'll see someone like Bruno Guimarães flourish. No doubt about it.
No, just because the other part of your original question, Pete, was around like you were saying you're kind of hitting that John Joe Shelby wouldn't be back. I know he's back in training, but Eddie Howe would like to ease him in. So, and I know it's Fulham what we have up next. If we weren't to go with Longstaff in the defensive and release Bruno further, would you ever consider playing someone like Botman or Schär in that kind of a role? I don't think this Football Manager kind of a move here.
To be fair, if you play a Football Manager, you probably get away with it for a game or two.
You'll get away with it, yeah.
But no, not for me. Look, Fabian Schär's played defensive midfield a few times for Newcastle in the nicest way possible. He's been dreadful in all of them. He plays there for international football, but it's slightly different. International football, the game's played at such a slower pace. I just think we need expertise players that are playing there, and although he's probably not expertise, you probably look at the likes of Sean Longstaff. Would it be the worst thing to pay Joe Linton there? I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I've mentioned it before, but I don't know whether it's something that would work or not.
Joe Linton goes further and further back the pitch to be in goal soon. I don't know. No, I like Joe Linton where he is. I like what he does. He took ticks all the boxes for what he does. I don't know if I push him back that far. To tell you the truth.
What do you think, Keegan?
Nah. No, I'm the same. I like him where he is. I think for whatever it is before the window opens again, if it's 9 games, I think we can make do with what we have. Whether, like I said, maybe play Bruno there, but definitely have the option of, if things aren't going our way, to throw Longstaff back there and release Bruno further forward, and that might be the key to getting back in games. But it's just depends on the situation. It's not something I'd start with. I don't think it'd be something that you'd have to manage during the game. But yeah, no, I like Big Joe where he is.
Right, because I've thought of another question now. I mean, maybe I'll go back to my other question again later. But question for you, Keegan, is from at the start of the season to where we are looking now. So, what was your expectations from the start of the season? I think myself, I was thinking, okay, minimum we'd come around 8th, but depending on signings and stuff, and how we'd get a bit of look at the draw, we might push higher. But what was your thoughts on where we would finish when the start of the season, and where do you think we'd finish now?
I couldn't see us losing a game after the way we finished last year. I thought, well, at the start, I thought, well, looking at the way last year finished in the table and things like that, I thought we could definitely be better than Leicester, definitely be better than Wolves.
We are.
Yeah. Well, that's how I thought. But then, I know it's still early, but I think Leicester are going to be dog shit for the whole year, to be honest. They look.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think they look done. I think was Brighton ahead. I think Brighton was ahead of us last year, were they?
They were, I think.
Yeah, so I thought we could be ahead. So there was probably 3 or 4 teams, and I thought we could be better than that. We should be better than them, and that'd get us to about 8th. And then I'm like, well, if we're 8th, why can't we try for 7th? Like, it's definitely not beyond the realms of possibility for us to finish 7th. That'd be Europe. So yeah, I was hoping about 7th or 8th because I thought we'd be better than what we are. Or not what we are compared to what we were last year. And I thought we'd be better than the teams who finished above us last year as well. So it's still early, but I think we'll be better. I still think we'll be better than them teams. I think we'll be better than Brighton and Leicester and Wolves. But yeah, at the moment, it's still, I think 6 or 7 games is probably not a big enough sample size, I guess, to sort of work out who's good and who's not, and sort of stop-start with the Queen and things like that. So it's really hard to get a handle on who's going to be going. And so, yeah, I'm still hopeful. I'm still hopeful we can finish around that area.
Yeah, no, but we're going to have players coming back as well. We'll have Wilson, ASM, and even Shelby, as we pointed out, he as well. If you think about it, just look how everything ticks, and because we don't have any, and we'll have the window then to strengthen as well. But so yeah, that's fair enough.
Bruno's missed. Did he miss 2 games or 3 games?
Yeah, but Bruno missed 2.
Was it 3?
Liverpool, Wolves, Liverpool, Palace, 3.
Yeah. So we've played 7. So arguably our 3 best players have missed more than half the year. So I know it's only 6 games. It's a bit of a headline statement, but they're the facts. Like, you take our 3 best players out, and you take the 3 best players out of anyone, and to have only lost 1 game is probably still a positive when you put it like that.
Yeah.
And
of course,
lost that anyway.
Yeah, don't go there. But and as you pointed out, we don't have the strength and depth on the bench. So where this is a general question to you as well, Pete. Where would you like to see us strengthen in January? Because January is going to be difficult as well, and you know as well how 1 or 2 players have a good World Cup, and suddenly everyone's interested in them, or people you've never heard of before spring up from nowhere. But where do you think we need to strengthen in the January transfer window?
Well, first of all, Aussie Geordie's put, if we could only get 1 big sign in January, I hope it's Alvarez from Ajax. He's
defensive midfielder.
Yeah, he's massively into him. But for me, I I think we need a creativity, goal scoring ability, attacking threat, and there's no better signing for me out there currently on the market than who would be available at a decent price than James Maddison. He would be ideal for me. I'd not just for the fact that I'd enjoy prizing him away from Leicester City and watch all my mates cry tears of sorrow as he left the club. He would just make such a difference to our team. And you know what? It goes back to the point when we did the Fully Loaded transfer shows, Daz, and there was a lot of people in the chat and there's a lot of people on social media saying, why do we need Maddison? He doesn't make sense. He's not the guy that we need right now. But what's interesting, everyone is now saying, James Maddison, or what they're saying now is, I can now see why we were after James Maddison, and we
don't need number 10.
Like James Maddison, yeah.
We don't play with a number 10.
It's mad. Like, it's mad how people.
We don't play with a number 10.
but people don't realize that actually he's played pretty much the majority of his games either on the right or just on the inside right of midfield to allow the wing back to bomb forward, which would be exactly the same with our right hand side because Trippier would just bomb on beyond him, but it would create the space. But what you're getting is crossing ability, goal scoring ability, creativity from set pieces, corners, free kicks, the rest of it. And he brings a different element. I mean, he's still performing in a dreadful Leicester team. A Leicester team looks destined to get relegated, although I don't think they will. They're looking like they're only going one way at the moment. But he's still churning out performances off the back of that. He would be ideal. And the reason why I haven't said the likes of Moussa Diaby and I've said Maddison is because Maddison in January only has a year and a half left on his contract. And I know at the moment, I was talking to one of my mates who's been sorting my kitchen out. He's a mad season ticket holder. And he said they've been going mad to try and sign him to a new deal. Leicester have, and he's not having any of it at the moment. He's not even interested in signing a new deal. So as long as Leicester keep churning out these shocking performances, it actually bodes well for a team like us to be able to pick him up in January. Because for me, I think he'll get to January and want out. He'll be annoyed if he doesn't get to the World Cup. He will probably see it as Leicester's fault because of the way in which they're playing. And he'll probably want out and we'll have the money, unlike maybe other clubs that have spent crazy amounts of money in the summer. We'll have a little bit of money left over to still do some deals. So we're the perfect team in the right position to pick someone like Maddison up.
And it's interesting that Diaby, I just checked to the Bundesliga as well, and they're still 15th in that league, so they're still not doing great. So both Maddison and their teams aren't performing. But it also interesting, Pete, that Leicester's Chris is doing your kitchen. Yeah, he's the mad Leicester fan that's doing your kitchen.
No.
That guy, I don't know who it is.
Definitely not Leicester Chris. Not Leicester Chris. Definitely not.
Nice one.
No, great guy and all, but yeah, trust him with the kitchen, that's for sure.
No, maybe not. But yeah, I think for me it's either strengthen in okay. If we could get two players, I'd say go for kind of a winger, like Diaby or someone who's fast, and an option that we can have ASM on one and that new winger on the other side, or that a defensive midfielder to unleash, because Shelby isn't going to be around forever either. Like someone Shelby can play a backup kind of role then, and maybe the guy from Ajax that we mentioned, or someone else that comes to the fore. I'm sure Dan Ashford is scouring the world looking for someone as well as we speak. But Keegan, any other suggestions or any other positions you'd like to strengthen?
No, I'm same as a couple of people who've mentioned in the comments. I think another midfielder, whether it's a defensive midfielder or an attacking-minded midfielder who sort of start central and wide players. I think Maxi's been injured a little bit the last couple of years as well. So whether he can stay fit and we can get another one to play on the right, it's Wilson maybe could play up front and Isak tuck in on the right. I can definitely see that happening. Excuse me. If Wilson's fit for our next game, I could definitely see them throwing Isak sort of out wide, and maybe, like you said, have that Trippier bombing on as like a winger, and Isak tucks inside a little bit, sort of like a quasi second striker. Like, haven't really seen enough of him. We haven't anyway when he's played for us, but he looks, well, by all accounts, he's really good with the ball at his feet, and he likes to play and get involved in the play and stuff like that. So, yeah, I could definitely see him sort of dropping next to Wilson, playing around like that, and maybe get another winger. But, yeah, I don't know. If it's like this last window, it's you be chewing your battery on your phone every day, just updating Twitter to see, who's the next guy we're lined up with. And
yeah, I'm sure you were doing loads of transfer shows as well, Keegan.
Yeah. So it all happens when we sleep. So you wake up on, grab your phone and, all right, who's he? And Wikipedia. Oh, no, he's good. Let's get him.
Yeah. You learn so much about players.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pete.
No, I was going to say, just while you both were talking, the chats going off a little bit. There's questions all over this place. So Brett was saying Alvarez, DRB, Madison would be happy with that. I think everyone would be happy with that.
Being understatement.
Interesting one. Crew to be kind. Welcome, crew to be kind to the channel. Madison as an 8 or a right winger. Interesting. What do you guys think? Really quickly.
He's more forward than a number 8 for me.
Hybrid 8.
Yeah, and I know Pete, you've said in the past he can play on the wing as well.
I think that's if we sign him. I think that's what we'd sign him as. But I also mentioned that in the summer, I think he would be ideal as an 8 because he'd almost be allowed to kind of drift into those number 10 positions if we pushed him further forward. Certainly in attacking phases of the game, he could pick up those spots where he could be really clinical. But I personally think he could play either. But it's an interesting question.
What did we offer for him in the end? Did we go to start 60 from?
I think, and this is where it was confusing because, you know, they said 40 million or 45 million, something like that for the first bid. It turned out it was in the 35 million plus add-ons, which accumulated to 40 million. Then I think we went higher. Originally, they said 50 million that we went to. Then a couple of days later, it turned out that apparently it was 40 million plus add-ons that went to 45 million. So nobody actually really knows what the actual real deal was that we put in for him. But I would say somewhere between the 45 and 50 million we bid for him. Now, 6 months on, is that value dropped? Likely to have? How much by? Could 45 to 50 million get the deal done in the January window? I would suggest it could, depending on the structure of the deal.
He's probably not like. I don't think he's in the latest England squad, is he? So his chances of the World Cup are looking slim now at this stage as well. So
he won't.
No. And
there's a few more. They're all kind of like making some comments on here, which is great. We love when everyone's in the chat. Yano, come on, man. Madison is a poor imitation of Bruno. He's a shitbag. No. Yano, he's not a shitbag. He's quality. I know you don't like the diving, and it is something that is a part of his game that is not favourable. But I tell you what, if you started doing it for Newcastle, I think you wouldn't mind. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, I've got the deal. I've got the deal for Toon Under. We're going to keep Keegan, and we're going to send Yano to Australia. There we go.
Some other good
Keegan,
ones here. Oh, go on. Sorry,
no, I was just going to say, Keegan, are you on do you have to head off and get ready for work or anything like that? Are you on a
No, I'm on holidays.
Oh, you're on holidays. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep going for hours though.
Yeah.
There's another good question from NUFC Shane. Welcome, NUFC Shane. It's the first time he's commenting on the channel and on the shows. He said he's a long time watcher. Really appreciates everything that Toon Under do. Basically bigging us both up. So great to have you on, NFC. Shane, he's put, interesting question. Would anyone else take Jack Grealish despite his comments about Miggy? Now, I don't know if anyone saw it today, but there's reports that he said he doesn't see himself at Man City beyond the end of this season. Apparently they've come from him, which says that the likelihood is he sees himself moving on, which has rumbled up a few comments of, will he go back to Villa? Will Newcastle go in for him? Would you take him, guys?
Do you want to go first, Keegan, or like?
No, you go first.
I don't want him. I don't want Jack Grealish. Okay, I'm delighted he won us the championship that time by scoring against Brighton. But yeah, no, he's just a party boy, really. He's not going to be an Eddie Howe type of player. And I know you have to kind of take him under the wing and try and get the best out of him. But I'm sorry, no, I don't want Jack Grealish. I think he's. Oh, we lost Pete. Not for me. He's. I don't think he's dedicated enough to do the job for us. But what do you think, Keegan? Welcome back, Pete.
I did it again.
He's a good player, of course. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not knocking his ability, and I think he's a good player, but he won't be a good player for us because I think we've been pretty clear. We've got a no dickhead policy at the moment. So unfortunately for Jack, he doesn't fit into that. He's a bit of a dickhead.
He fits right into that category, though.
Yeah. So I don't think he's going to be someone that Eddie would want around in his dressing room, which is fine by me because I'm all for having good people as well as good players. Well, some of them aren't that good, but good people first and foremost. I'm all about it.
Cool. Pete, would you take him? It means you're not getting Madison if you take him.
Oh no, I'd rather Madison. I would. I'd rather Madison. I'd rather Diaby. There's a few players I'd rather over him. I'm going to say no, and the reason being is because for me, I just think you've got to find a way of paying him what Man City are paying him, and we're not going to stretch that wage budget. We're just not going to do it, not at this stage. I think we'd be able to afford the transfer fee personally.
What would the fee be?
It wouldn't be.
What's he worth now?
You know what?
50.
He's probably worth about 50 million. They would try and get more out of him. I think if a team came in with about 65, 70 million, Man City would snap their hands off.
Absolutely.
100%. But I think a realistic fee at this point now would be about 50 million. Whether people think he's worth that now is another question. But I think that's his money. You got to remember his age as well. I think he's like 27, 28, which is, he's still youngish, but it's not like he's 23, 24. He's not like he's a Moussa Diaby age where you've got room to grow and develop. He's someone that would probably be worth that sort of money. So I think it's more of the fact that he's coming from Man City, and Man City are serial winners. And when you win trophies, no matter how you've played, it adds value onto your transfer fee. It's just a natural thing because you're being bought from a team that are the champions. And that's just the reality of it. I don't agree with that value, but it just seems to be the case. But I would have took him before he went to Man City because I thought he is a very, very talented player, but he really does seem to have lost his way, and he's become a little bit of a one-trick pony, which surprised me in the way he's played. He's really lost his mojo, and I don't know whether this could be a situation like Danny Drinkwater or someone like that, where they've gone to a big team and then they just kind of fizzle out their career.
Yeah. And the thing about Grealish as well, when playing for Villa, he's Villa through and through. He's playing for a boyhood club, and he's the passion he shows for them. I don't think it hasn't clicked for him at City now. He's got loads of talent all around him, but I don't know. And I think Martin has said before, big fish in a small pond kind of thing, and now he's let him back to Villa and go from there.
Another one here. Tillemans
yeah.
in his last season will only have
Love
6 months left in January. Boys,
Can't see him going to us though now.
As you said, you love him. Keegan, what do you think? Would you take him?
Yeah, I'd take him. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. Did we have a nibble at him in the window, or was that just speculation?
You know what? I think we try. Interestingly, my kitchen fitter, the Leicester fan, he actually no, it's not Chris. He's one of my good mates. I grew up with him. He actually bumped into Tillemans at one of the parks in Leicester yesterday. And like he said, like loads of fans are coming up to him, shaking his hand. You're amazing, this, that, and the other. And he bumped into one of the guys that met him, and he had a big beaming smile on his face. This guy, and he was like, "I just seen Tillemans," and my mate was like, "Well, did you tell him to sign a new contract?" He was like, "If you didn't tell him to sign a new contract, tell him to get lost." And that's his mentality at the moment. He's like, sign a new contract, we'll get out. He's one of them. But I take him. I think we're barbecue.
Yeah, I love him. I've been talking about him since the 6th of October, the day before the takeover. But yeah, and I just, since we haven't gone for him, or we haven't got him at the end of this transfer window, when Leicester would have done a deal, I think. I can't see us getting him up, because he's going to have in January. He can go to sign up with a European club, or Leicester could still sign him. Yeah, I know. And pack your bags, pack your bags.
Bring your sunscreen.
All the creatures that can kill you in Australia as well. Yeah, no, you better watch out. Yeah, no, I think he's going to go end up with at a Champions League club. He wants to get back in the Champions League, so that's probably what's going to rule us out of getting him. I'd still love being rocked up though. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
Seb.
Yeah, Seb, as always, just mentioned something that we've talked about before. I think Chris has talked about it. Not had a good start to the season. If they don't qualify for the Champions League, we should go all out for Diaby. For me, if Maddison's not on, I think he's the next guy in line that we should be looking at personally, in trying to get him through the door in January. Wouldn't be a bad option. That is for sure. Uggy said, has anyone kept an eye on Paqueta? Performances haven't been great, but I wouldn't put that down to necessarily him. I think West Ham and our good friend of the channel, Dan Lawless from West Ham Fans TV, was absolutely livid after their game where they lost to Everton at Goodison Park. And I think there's a lot of talks of Moyes out, so keep an eye on that one. That'll be an interesting one if they make that decision. That's for sure.
Just something I thought of today when I was taking the Bruno course. I was thinking, I suppose it's a constant fear I have now, especially when there was talk of Real Madrid going and looking at Bruno as well. But anyone think, like, in a year and a half time, if we're not getting very close to that Champions League spot, that Bruno will be looking at for a potential move, because he's a champion, as we've said in our squad game. He's a Champions League player, so he has to be getting closer to the Champions League. So we need to be doing everything we can to ensure we're in those Champions League spots in the next. It's kind of funny to think of, but in the next year and a half, just to ensure that we hold on to Bruno. Anyone else worried about that?
Keegan,
yeah, as soon as I got my name on his shirt, I was worried about that.
Oh no. No, on a serious note, with Bruno Guimarães, I do worry about him long term. We're talking as if he is going to be at the club long term, and I think he wants to be at the club long term. But you know, he's 25 years old now. He wants to be playing at the top level. He wants to win trophies. And although he loves the progress, I think if we got 2 or 3 years down the line and we were no closer to Champions League football, I think a question could be asked. We're already getting Real Madrid and teams like Liverpool that are saying we'd have loved to have signed him. Man City have been linked with him as well. It's like, a couple of years on of those performances, that's only going to hot up. And the only way that's going to be able to be dampened is if we're making progress ourselves. So it is a question to be asked, and this is it. And it's almost like with the Champions League type players, Moussa Diaby, who's scoring in the Champions League. You know, it's almost like if you want those players at your club right now to get you to where you want to go, you have to pay more. You have to pay more in transfer fees. You have to pay more in wages, and we're not prepared to do that at the moment. So this is why we're missing out on these type of players for one reason or another, either the transfer fee or the wages or a mixture of both. At some point, if we want to really push to help the likes of Bruno get to where they want to be, Sven Botman as well, we are maybe going to have to push the boat out and get some of these players in that are going to make an instant impact. And I think this is what I think the club are kind of toying with at the moment, which is why the Alexander Isak deal got done. Because let's face it, he's a Europa League at least striker, in my opinion. He's Champions League level. He's good enough to play at that level, and he has played at that level. So I think you know we are going to have to push the boat out for one or two players. I really do.
Yeah. Keegan, anything coming up on the channel on Toon Under in the next little while?
We'll have our. We might be doing a 1 year. I think we're going to do that tonight, actually, which will be out tomorrow morning for you guys. A 1 year anniversary of the owners. Just have a chat about what they've done and how different things have changed, I guess, over the last 12 months. We might do a review, 2011-12 season review as well, just something to tick over while we're on the international break. And then, going forward, just we do our match previews and reviews sort of 2 a week at the moment. And then, we might load up on a few guests over the World Cup break and try and push some more good stuff out. So we've been pretty fortunate with some of the guests we've had over the last sort of 6 months. We've had Kieran Maguire had a really good chat to us about financial fair play and how it works with regards to us and what we can and can't spend and stuff like that, which was very similar to that Swiss Ramble sort of thread that come out maybe 6 weeks ago and stuff like that. So that was really interesting. We've had Serena Taylor, the club photographer. So she's an Aussie girl. Cool. So it was really good having a chat with her. And we've had some Andy Sixsmith. We've had him on just discussing the transfer window and how he thought things were going to pan out the last few weeks, and he was spot on. He said he thought we were going to make a big money. I think it might have been after the Botman. So he was pretty confident we were going to make another big money signing. He didn't know who, but he thought we were going to splash, and he was spot on with that as well. So we'd just get whoever we can and have a really good chat with him about all things Newcastle, which is really fun. I mean, that was my reason, I guess, to join the channel. Well, asked to join the channel and accepted. But it was like you grow up, and I don't really have, not really. I had no mates who supported Newcastle. So you've got all these feelings and thoughts and ideas and things like that, and no one to share them with. You just have to keep them to yourself because no one give a shit about what we were doing. Yeah, so
exactly.
It was a really good outlet to discuss and sort of open your eyes to other people's ideas and see how other people view it. And it's been a blast. I've absolutely loved doing it, loved being a part of the channel, and it's been great.
Nice one, Keegan. Yeah, it's the same for us, really. Like what you're saying there, it's an outlet for us to talk among ourselves and then talk about it in shows. And then sometimes we just forget we're on shows as well and we're just talking away. But you know, like you're in the pub or something. But and you've mentioned a lot of good stuff there already that already took place, so people could watch back or coming up in the future. So make sure you subscribe to Toon Under Podcast if you like the kind of stuff we do. you're going to like what the lads do as well. So make sure you subscribe and get them to 1K, because we know that how big that milestone is. We just hit it on takeover night. Actually, it was pretty
massive.
amazing. Yeah,
yes,
it was mad. But any more questions, Pete, or we think about wrapping up?
Any more questions? We've got a ton of questions.
Go for it, though.
We have. I don't think we've got enough time to get through them all, but we can get through some of them. That's for sure. I've got some saved, so I'll go down. Not a question, but just a comment. Apparently, Wilson may be back for the Fulham game. Martin Hardy's column from yesterday, or I think it might have even been Sunday, confirmed that he will be back for Fulham. So unless he has a setback, he'll be back for the Fulham game, which will be a massive improvement. Yeah. That's for sure. Yano with another comment again. Question for Keegan. On games they watch, do they have to suffer the co-commentary of Andy Hinchcliffe? You don't? I'm moving to the office. He's already got his bags packed.
He's on his way to the airport, I reckon. He's Uber now.
See, Yano.
Yeah, he's coming in hot this morning. Or
by the end of the show, he'll be behind you, Keegan.
Yeah, you see a little head just pop up from behind.
Yeah, peeling the Bruno name off the back of the jersey there.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think we get the Premier League TV feed, so we don't get the Sky or the BT or Amazon, whoever has it. We just get the Premier League, whatever the Premier League feed is. That's who we get.
Right.
Which, I'm not sure about the other guys, but I don't really have the volume up loud in my house because obviously the missus is in bed, the kids are still in bed, so you sort of got to try and keep noise to a minimum. But I do wake them up if we score, and she knows. She knows. We wake up in the morning. She's like, "Did Newcastle win?" I was like, "Oh yeah." She goes, "Yeah, I heard you." I'm like, "I'm trying to be quiet, but it's hard to yell like fuck yeah."
I know that
in 2 o'clock in the morning and not wake everyone up. Like against Forest, we were doing the watch along for Forest, and Shah hit that one. I'm like,
yeah.
And then
we were at that game actually.
Were you? Yeah. Oh, that's another thing we do. Sometimes any game that's not televised, we normally do a watch along for that as well. So that was my first one. I'd heard of him, but I'd never actually participated in one. And I had a friend who, before we went on air, had a big milestone. He played Aussie rules and he played his 300th game, which is a pretty big deal. So we went out for a few drinks. So I was sort of not half cut. I was just about fully cut by the time we launched the watch along, and I didn't know how it worked, and I haven't watched it back, and I don't really watch anything back that I'm on for good reason, but the boys reliably informed me that I'd spent the whole second half talking about how good Eddie's pecs were, so I'm not sure.
So the Forest game,
he was buff, and he's definitely got a size smaller shirt just to really enhance the work he's put in the off season, and yeah, apparently that was all I was talking. Every time they cut to him in the second half, I'm like, oh, he's jacked. Look how big he's looking. Like, if he could get a tint or tan, he could be anything.
Get on these watch-alongs, guys. Get on these watch-alongs.
Yeah.
Yano, come back, Yano. The deal's off. Yano, come back. Unpack the bags.
Yeah.
I love it.
So
interesting question.
I didn't know what the hell to do.
Interesting question from David R. He's put on continuing on with Eddie Howe. David R's put, do you chaps think Howe may be tempted to change tactics, especially at home as the opposition teams are sitting deep? It's clearly evident how important ASM is to us, and perhaps it's time to invest in another ASM, which we've already talked about tonight, potentially. What do you think about the tactics, though, Keegan, Daz?
Yeah, I think he'll change tactics, but not so much change formation. I think he'll stick with what he does, but there might be different instructions. I preface this by saying it's really hard to judge it without our three probably best players. So you sort of have to, especially on the weekend, you have to take that. I think you do have to take that into consideration. Bruno did play, but I think they'd be more looking to get balls early into the box and actually try and win second balls and put the defense under pressure and things like that. Don't be scared to shoot outside the box. A ricochet, might just drop. Someone could nick a goal. I just don't think they need to throw everything out when they play against teams, and it's going to happen more often now. Like teams like Bournemouth, who are going to fight and scrap for every point they can get, they're going to come up here. They know it's a hard game, and they're going to make it hard. What I did respect was after the game, no one booed Bournemouth off after they played the way they played. I think that shows a lot more about us as fans as compared to what the Liverpool fans are. I mean, like a team comes to your ground to do a job and try and get something out of it. So, I don't think we're going to change formation, but I do think we'll change tactics a little bit, but with better quality. Yeah, I think we should be okay.
Yeah. I'm just it'd be very interesting when we know Wilson is fully fit. What happens with Wilson and Isaac? How is he going to manage that? Is he going to just play one of them and one of them on the bench, come off the bench as an impact, which would be crazy for a €60 million striker, or even leaving Callum Wilson on the bench? But or is he going to try and accommodate them in some way? And that's what may lead to some kind of a new shape. And again, if Wilson is back fully fit, he's got this nice little break now in between to try and work on something for that. And I saw some talk as well that we may try and organize a kind of friendly game in between this international break as well. And I'm sure he'll try something there. If it's a behind the closed doors kind of friendly, he'll definitely try something new. So that'd be interesting. Come Fulham.
Definitely. Keep an eye out. Uggy's said, I love Burn, but I just feel Botman needs to start every week. Uggy, I'm with you.
I'm with you too.
100%. Surprised he didn't start at the weekend. He's such a threat from attacking set plays, and he's so much better on the ball. I'm surprised. Were you surprised with that, Keegan?
Yeah, a little bit, but I think especially at this stage of their sort of careers, I don't see that much between them. I think Botman's going to end up being a lot better player than what Dan Burn is. But at the moment, I think Eddie just trusts the guys who have done it for him before. I think Burn's got the runs on the board. So I think that's why he was sort of playing. It was the same last year when Bruno signed. Bruno could have started the week he signed. But with John Joe and Big Joe and stuff like that, and Willock, they were playing well. Like he didn't want to just take one of them out for the sake of it. We were winning. We were getting results. So I think, he'll sort of just needs to bide his time. I was surprised actually when I seen the team, when I woke up and seen the team sheets. As stupid as that sounds for you guys, when you wake up and see what a team sheet is playing and stuff like that. But I thought Burn was pretty good on the weekend. I thought he was one of our better players. So I can't knock him for the decision because he played well.
Yeah, I think he's probably basing it on how they're performing in training. But I was surprised as well that Botman wasn't starting because he'd be my first pick. But there must be something, and it's probably another case of trying to keep them all happy or whatever. But I think he starts the next day.
It's a weird situation. I mean, Yano's put a comment on there about Botman to just add to it, looking like it was a matter of time before he got his goal from a corner routine and Howe drops him. Huge own goal for me. If Lascelles and Botman play together or in the Bournemouth game, we win. That's obviously coming from Yano, and that's a fair point. I just find this whole situation weird, and I don't know if you've watched some of the articles or read some of the articles, should I say, from today. I've just managed to catch up with a couple because obviously Botman's now pulled out the under-21 squad, not through injury, which is the huge surprise. It's not because of an injury. He's dropped out because he wants to focus on Newcastle. So that makes me think that he's been dropped. But I don't understand why he's been dropped because he was playing well and probably one of our best performers in defence when he was playing. So it almost feels like something's happened that's made him be dropped, but I don't think we're going to know about it. Whether it was a niggle, I heard on Saturday afternoon after the game, it was potentially a niggle. Nothing's come out about an injury. They're saying there's no injury. So it's a really weird situation, and I don't get it. It'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. I hope there's no unrest. I hope there's no negativity or a fallout of some sort, because Sven Botman is the future of Newcastle United. There's no doubt about it. And I would hate to think that something due to either a dropping or whatever has caused a problem with Sven Botman, because he will outstay Dan Burn. It's as simple as that. And for Dan Burn's good performances now, Sven Botman's going to take us forward.
Yeah, I didn't see this the game live. Actually, this the one game I missed live this year because it was gone all day. But just that he didn't actually come off the bench, because I only saw highlights, so I didn't get to catch that bit. But he never came off the bench at all. So that's an interesting point, Pete. And added to the dropping from the under 21 squad, it is questionable what's going on. But as you said, hopefully it's nothing. Nothing too bad.
Last couple from the starred section. Simon, sponsor and friend of the channel, has said to Keegan, are there any good Australian players we should be looking at apart from Garang Kuol?
Not off the top of my head. No, we're the league's sort of in a bit of a transition phase at the moment, where we did try and get some sort of older, well-known players to come and play and try and boost the profile of the league and stuff like that. So we had Del Piero played for Sydney for a few years. Shinji Ono was a really good player, a really good Japanese player. He played for Western Sydney for a few years as well. Dwight York we had for a bit. Emil Heskey come here for a bit as well. And it was sort of like the sugar hit that tried to boost the league, and which come at the expense of developing younger guys and try and sort of get them up, get them good moves and get careers out of them. So, yeah, I think they've sort of turned back. They're trying to go 50-50 at the moment, where get some experience in, some profile names in to boost the league, but at the same time really start pushing some kids through and like Garang and try and get these guys experience and things like that. So I think the team I support, Melbourne Victory, we've just signed Nani for the next 2 years. So, yeah. And then Brisbane, who have signed, Charlie Austin's signed there for this year as well, which...
Charlie Austin. Nearly signed for Newcastle at one stage. I was linked to him.
He did, yes, he did.
I would have loved him.
So,
I thought
he was
top striker.
Yeah. So there is a few, but yeah, it's really, I don't know, there's some reason why a lot of clubs don't play young kids. There's only a couple that sort of go down that path. I think they're scared of result. Like, we don't have relegation, so results are sort of irrelevant. Like, you're not going to get relegated if you finish bottom.
But I guess the thing in Australia as well, there's so many different sports that are all popular. Like, so it's
so they're trying to find their sort of get their foot in the market, I guess, with when it comes to advertising and sponsorships and stuff like that. And they can't do that with young kids. Unfortunately, they need the established names like a Nani or a Charlie Austin. I don't even think Charlie Austin's probably that well known to your average fan. You know, like Nani's massive. Obviously, he's got worldwide appeal. But yeah, Charlie Austin, not so much. But that's the tack they're trying to get now. They're trying to get some big names in to get money, but still try to start filtering through.
Cool. Should I give a shout out to the sponsors, Pete, while you're looking for another question there?
I've got one, just a really quick question. Question for KK. Do you think Judd Kinnear's copied your hairstyle to get the Newcastle job? I think he's thinking about the early morning hairstyle.
Yeah, this is a 5:30 a.m.
Yeah,
5:30 a.m. rinse.
And you're going back to bed after this as well.
No, the kids are up now. I'm not definitely going back to bed.
Oh no,
our fault. Sorry.
I'll
Okay,
sleep when I'm dead.
I give a quick shout out to the sponsors. Shout out to shyburns.com and the range that Simon has there. Go check out the website for the latest there. Also, home of the loaded t-shirts, the cup, and the water bottle. And Pete is modeling the lovely yellow one there, the Australian one. We're saying to that tonight. It's the Australian one.
It's gorgeous.
So away it is one. So yeah, check that out. Also, shout out to Pins and Prints and the range that Dean has available there, and a shout out to Machine House and the range that Marky has available. And there's when we get the new picture up, there's a new T-shirt out as well. That it's not here, but it's a really nice T-shirt actually. Check that out. But here's the range. So check out the latest on the website with Machine House, and also shout out to the Geordie Rise. And there we have Brett modeling the t-shirt from Geordie Rise. And yeah, there's check out the latest really on the site. What Dean has available there too. That is the sponsors. And you know what? While we're at it, I'm gonna mention what's coming tomorrow night. So we'll do another show tomorrow night. We have. And maybe I'll just remove the banner as well so we can see properly. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, we have Mr. Robson Green. So, actor, presenter, singer, and Newcastle fan, Robson Green joins us tomorrow at 8 o'clock. So, that's one that we've been trying to organize for a long time, and we've finally got a date with Robson, thanks to Simon. So, check out that one tomorrow at 8 o'clock, where we go live with Robson Green. So that's one for tomorrow night. Any more questions, Pete?
Not a question, but yeah, God, thanks a lot, Keegan. All my years of saving to move to the Oz, to get away from Andrew Hinchcliffe, and it turns out that wouldn't even be far enough. Spanish lessons then. I love it. Yeah, they're on fire again, as always. Yeah, there's a couple of questions that are always flying in. Interesting one from Mark Todd from earlier on in the show. He's put on a recent Arsenal podcast, one person mentioned that for Newcastle to challenge for the top six, we would have to buy 11 £50 million players. Do you agree with that? Interesting question.
Keegan, I'll let you take this one first.
Absolutely not, no. Well, Nick Pope cost 10, so you still
there you go.
There you go. That's
yeah,
one
say 40 there.
Yeah.
Botman cost 30. There's two. Bruno cost 40. There's three.
Yeah. Wilson, ASM.
Yeah.
Like okay. Trippier was 15.
They can have Isaac at 60.
We need to buy a few.
Need to get our names out their mouth too.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll have to get used to it, Keegan. Like all the teams they're shook at the fact that we're coming.
They are absolutely shitting themselves. The last thing they want is us being good.
Yeah. 110%. But what do you think about that, Daz?
No, that's bullshit, I'm afraid. But we do need to buy a few, maybe not £50 million, and that's where Dan Ashford is going to come in. He's going to pick up some gems. That's what he was doing at Brighton. Look at the players that are still coming through at Brighton there. So players we've never heard of, or no one else has even heard of either. So and it'll be bought for a hell of a lot less than 50 million. But we do need to pack out the bench. We need to have options off the bench that can change games, and that's what we're missing now, and that's why we're getting these draws, and then we're not able to turn them into wins. And but as come to this time next year, that's what we'll be able to do that, I think, because we'll pick up one or two maybe in January, and somewhere I think we talked about the wage structure, and then I think we'll go a bit higher in the wages as well, because there'll be more sponsorship coming in. So I think it's as we said many times, it's a project, it's building step by step. I know we all want to get there as fast as possible, but we all have to kind of slow ourselves down at times.
Definitely. Well, Yada's put this comment in. We need to be more of a threat from set pieces, because we will get lots of them. And yeah, we will. And Maddison will be the one to take those set pieces. It just makes sense, Yado. But Yado, welcome Michael to the channel. We missed it a bit late. He's currently watching the Bournemouth reaction show, which is also a good one that we did on Sunday night. But Yano's come back and said, "You've missed nothing. They spent most of the show singing the praises of that shitbag." He's not a shitbag. He's our future signing. And look, Yano, when he signs, I want his name on the back of your top.
I think you should get a tattoo.
I reckon if he signs, Yano will want me to get the name on the back of my top.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true. Definitely. But yeah, look, they're all the questions that have come in. It's been an interesting chat. It's been a great chat. Loads of good comments and questions coming in all night. So thank you for everyone in the chat that's contributed. Always a pleasure.
And just a reminder to people as well, because I always forget it. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to Loaded as well as subscribing to Toon Under. We're trying to make our way to 5K. It'll be a while yet before we get there, but step by step, like the lads and Toon Under, we'll get there. But thanks Keegan for getting up really early and join us. Thanks to the lads as well, Jack. I think I was talking to during last week, or maybe just before the end of the transfer window. But yeah, we'll have to get you guys on again, and we'll have to pop onto your channel as well just to say hello. We'll find a time that'll suit. But
it's a bit different. I think our if we kicked off at 8 o'clock our time, I think that's like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning for you guys.
Yeah,
so it's a little bit more friendlier for you guys. But yeah, absolutely stoked, boys. Thanks for having me on too. Loved it.
Yeah. Cool. Lovely, Keane. Thanks a million for joining. Thanks to everyone for watching, and we'll say Eddie. How.
How.
See you tomorrow for Robson Green, everyone. Take care.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, boys.